Hey guys, how are you doing? This is Zed from Zed Outdoors and I hope you're having an awesome day. So today I am with Dan Lawrence. Dan, how are you doing?
Very well, very well. The sun is out.
I know. It's a beautiful day today. We're actually in Edale at Dan Lawrence's workshop stroke home. Now, if you're not familiar with Dan, Dan is a full-time craftsman who both practices many disciplines of craft and also teaches as well around the country and abroad. Now, one of Dan's specialities is spoon carving. If you haven't done so already, on this visit down to see Dan Lawrence, we've actually filmed a very detailed tutorial on Dan's process for carving a wooden spoon. What we've also done, we've also filmed a video on Dan's process for carving a wooden bowl. Now, the reason why I bring all of that up is a twofold. Number one, if you haven't checked out those videos, links will be down there in the description. But the other reason why I mention that is obviously you've seen the title of this video, you're thinking, if you're a spoon carver or a green woodworker or anything the likes thereof, why do you need to be concerned about stretching? So Dan Lawrence, I know the answer. What of you is at home? Why is stretching important for spoon carvers and green woodworkers?
Well, I reckon that most spoon carvers and green woodworkers will come at you with some type of ache or pain or, oh, when I carve a lot, I'm really sore in that area. So I think it's really obvious that most people are going to have some kind of ailment where they think, oh, my back aches or something like that aches. So, and also it's a very physical thing at times, you know, or you're just sitting down for too long. You know, sitting really is a bit of a killer on your lower back, isn't it? So
what we're going to do, we're going to structure the video as the following, is we're going to actually, Dan's going to first of all just touch on briefly the reason why, if you're spoon carving and green woodworking, you typically get some aches and pains. And then what Dan's going to show some really cool techniques that he uses himself. But we're also going to discuss, well, you know, why Dan felt this was important for him in the first place. So what we'll do, Dan, we'll just get straight into this video with your kind permission. Yep. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the rest of this video where Dan Lawrence is going to be teaching you some stretching techniques specifically for spoon carvers and green woodworkers. So Dan, the first question I have for you is, why did you feel stretching was important for you, being a full-time spoon carver and green woodworker and also craftsman?
Good question. So I think it kind of makes sense, and I reckon most people will agree that stretching is a good idea. However, there are a lot of people that don't end up doing it. So for me, I'm normally carving sat down on a chair. And as we know, chairs are not really supporting your back. You know, I myself also will regularly slouch in the chair as well. That's kind of collapsing that whole system. So you can have a really weak lower back. And then not only that, there was a couple of incidences where I was carving quite a lot. And so my right hand, this is another reason why I started using both hands, but my right hand in particular that time, really aching because I'm just pulling all that time. So actually opening up and stretching the opposite. And then I had real pain on my upper neck and shoulders. And so I thought, I can't get to 50 and carry on like this. It's just not going to be sustainable. So that's when I thought, right. And also I'm a climber as well, so stretching is not a particular big leap. So really it was about thinking about longevity, sustainability, what actually can I do that doesn't really interfere with carving or anything, and I can just do if and when. You know, I don't have to go to some class and I don't have to sit there and go, oh, now I'm going to do my half an hour stretching before I carve. I get it, we all definitely just want to get on carving, right? But I'm just going to try and show you a handful of different things that even if you do one or two of them, and even if you only do them a few times a week, I really think they're going to help. So shall we jump into it?
Yeah, sure. Just before we do that though, did you want to actually possibly illustrate
good
why
point.
Is it, for example, if a spoon carver is sitting down, they're carving, etc., you know, what's starting to happen that now brings about these pains?
So I mean, if you're like me, you've got a chair, it's probably not really designed for anything, and you'll start slouching and you think, yeah, I'm comfy, okay. Now your lower back is not really doing anything. Also, your upper back is in a really bad position. And then what happens is you're probably using your lats, and now your head is right down here. So you're kind of starting to turn into a little turtle or something and kind of cramping up and everything. And then that's going to start causing these really tight postural muscles where you're this all the time and you're rounded all the time, okay? So that means lower back, upper back, shoulders, neck, you know, all of that system is just being kind of crumpled. So what can we do to, you know, and also a lot of people will be out like this as well, kind of, you know, it's quite nice to sit like that, and fine if you want to sit like that and carve, but every so often it can be really good to, and this is what I constantly do, I find myself, I'll slouch, 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 oh, come on. And all I'll do is try and sit more on the edge of the chair or stool or bench or wall or wherever you're sitting. And just try and sit on the edge and try to put a bit of weight on my feet so that at any moment I could kind of stand up, okay? That's a good position kind of to be in, okay? And then not only that, second thing is just try and roll your pelvis forward ever so slightly, okay? Because this then engages these core muscles. These then help you sit a little bit more upright, and what you'll probably notice is your shoulders then start to relax a little bit more, you know, like this. The difference from this, I'm carving, I'm down here, you know, a lot of people will do this. I really would suggest not to, you know, the amount of height you gain from that to just actually being here. So just rolling that pelvis forward, sitting a little bit forward on the chair, that is going to be really good for your back and your shoulders in general, okay? So that's kind of number one thing to even just think about. It's going to be really good for you. And then, so now, actually then we can probably even just use the chair, okay? If all you've got a chair, you've probably got an axe block. Next thing could be with your hands, okay? We're clenching a lot with our hands. You know, we're using them in a certain way. And so opening them up and stretching those muscles. You can push on a chair. And all I'm trying to do, I'm not trying to go over my elbow, over my hands. I'm just trying to push straight down. And you can just move around a little bit, okay? And then...
are you putting pressure downwards onto...
I'm just putting a bit of weight. I'm not trying to push into that. I'm just trying to rest into that. And you'll really feel where... yeah, you'll really feel where it kind of aches. And if you just gently make some circular motions, and then not only that, you know, on the block here, you find it so you can just be leaning and just pressing a little bit, make some circular motions, and just start getting some movement, some stretching all along here. It's also opening up your hand quite well, and you can do that both sides. And then, so we've stretched that part, okay, and also it's loaded, so it's not just pulling it as far as you can go, it's loaded. And then another one to get around this part, so we've done this kind of muscle, and now to get this part, this is like the penguin, okay, hand up, clasp it with my other one, and now I gently just pull straight up to my elbow, and then I pull towards slightly, okay, and then I slowly release, and maybe I do that a few times. And the more you kind of lift your fingers up this way, like a penguin, you'll feel it here where it connects to the elbow, because usually that's something that, particularly with axing, that area can be quite sensitive, okay? You know, same again on the other side, that's a good one. And then what did we say next? Seating, hand pressing, swinging. Okay, another one now for our hips. This one, I think, at least in my mind, a lot of people might think this looks silly, because of, I don't know, I think we're just not used to publicly stretching. And so if I rock my weight from one foot to the other, you know, I'm just a bit wider than shoulder, and then my arms are floppy, and all I'm trying to do is look over there, but keep my hips facing forward. That's literally it. So as I do here, my hips are fit, and this is creating a really nice twist. It's also now relaxing my shoulders. When I come across here, that's stretching and relaxing my shoulders. And I'm just trying to slap my back and moving from side to side. And not only this is quite a good one to begin and end with. If you only did this one and some hand pressing or something, and maybe typically only do this 20 times, you could do it 50 times, you can do, just get up and do this sometimes, I think is really good. Oh, I mean, you might just feel me doing this for a while. It's really nice. And you can obviously make it really vigorous if you wanted, or it's literally just get up and just, and who cares if you look a bit silly, because tell you what, your hips, your lower back, your shoulders, everything will really appreciate that. And then I have spoken about this before. If you know me, you know I carry something like this around. And what is it? It's just a...
To tell off naughty students.
Yeah, absolutely. No, not like that. There's a brand called TheraBand that make a variety of these. This particular one is from Decathlon, which is just a kind of general sports outlet. And really it's a resistance band, okay, which comes in different resistance. So you can have a really weak one. And if you've ever been to the physio, you probably will have been given a different coloured one of these, depending on. And it's a bit wider than shoulder width, or you can really hold this wherever you want. And I'm just pulling it till it's taut, and I'm rolling my shoulders around, okay, and I'm letting it stretch. And I think I mean, I'm not a physio, but when I was carving a while ago, and my neck and my shoulder was really in a lot of pain from a lot of sitting and carving, particularly that chest lever grip, you know, and axing. Just all those muscles back there were really aching, really tight, really sore. And I think probably after about 6 months of doing this regularly throughout the day, okay, I'm just rolling, I'm not necessarily keeping it there, and then doing some of this and actually just gently pulling it apart, that meant that all my muscles back here and up my neck and my postural muscles are getting stretched. Those muscles are getting stronger now, so they're not being pulled so much. They've got the strength to kind of hold me up. Made such a big difference. And now I don't think I've ever had neck and shoulder pain, really, unless I've been carving a lot and I haven't been stretching. And carrying one of these in your carving kit, so easy. Like, you could just stand up, do this for 30 seconds even, and I'm just rolling it. And there are lots of other things you can do with this, you know. You've got that pulling there, you've got that pulling around. I'm just trying to strengthen up that system, basically. I could go on a lot more about that resistance band, TheraBand, whatever, but ultimately that's a really good one. And then I think finally, just to kind of aid that, pressing the hand, I think everyone knows this one, and just moving that around, that would be a really good one. Yeah. You know, things like that. I'm sure you go online and find things out. But yeah, I think that...
What about hanging?
Oh yeah, thanks Ed.
Hanging, that's it.
So hanging is one that if we're sat down a lot, we're really compressing, aren't we? And so just by, and you can even, so it doesn't have to be, I don't have to be able to do a pull-up. No one has to be able to do a pull-up. And you don't even really have to hold your pull. I could actually just hang. I've got one foot on the floor, okay? And I could just kind of hang like that. But ultimately what you're trying to do is stretch that spine, stretch that system, okay? Because sitting and standing, we're always kind of, gravity is always a force on us. So if you can just hold, and you can either hang completely floppy, and you can really kind of feel that stretch on there, which is actually a stretch that I think chiropractors and physios actually do on your back. They try and lengthen that. And then if you want to strengthen up that shoulder muscles as well, when you hang, try and create lots of space. And it's just that movement. It's actually engage your trapezoids, all of those muscles. And that will do a lot for your shoulders, being able to open up. And then maybe lastly, I'll say, one thing I used to do a lot, I don't do as much anymore, is lie on the floor, okay, maybe one little pillow with your feet on the ground. And that is going to do the same thing. It's going to help relax, take the pressure off your spine. And that is a really good thing. And you could do, I could talk forever about this, but yeah, lying on the ground for just a couple of minutes will really, really help your back as well. Because I think a lot of people, you know, they're hunched over, particularly with axing, hunched over. But if you've got a strong lower back, strong upper shoulders that can actually support you, that's going to be really, really beneficial, I think.
Just one last thing that actually came to mind as you're talking.
Yeah.
And obviously this is a bit of a rabbit hole for another time.
Oh yeah.
But actual good how can I put it, like a good posture when actually carving it itself, and focusing on your stance and things like that. So needless to say, you'd say that, would you say that obviously that's a very important part as well? So for example, if you're standing by a chopping block and axing, then obviously focusing a little bit on your stance and kind of how you're positioned.
Well, actually that brings me to a point that I'd forgotten that I kind of wanted to mention, that if you just come over here, so we've got one block at a certain height, and I'm sure if you ride bicycles or anything, the height of the bike is really, really important. So this block is a certain height, and now I've got this one which is even higher, okay? And then down here I've got other options to how high. And I think if you can find the height of the block where your hips can sit underneath, and this is only through experience and practice, and I think it's something to do with the height of your elbow. And if you've got a spoon, you imagine that's my spoon. My height of my elbow means that once I lift that at 90 degrees and this is high, like I can have a completely straight back, and I don't need to bend over, I only need to bend forward. Any lower, and now it's dropping here, and I'm having to do a heck of a lot more lifting, and I'm going to be doing more bending. Any higher, and I'm going to have to bring this up here. My shoulders are probably going to have to start coming up to this kind of height and chopping here. So I think there's something about a 90 degree when you've lifted the axe, and now I can be axing. And so I think maybe just below hip height, maybe. Somewhere just below hip height, I think is a good kind of height. So think about your axe block. I see so many people with axe blocks down here or something like this, and yeah, it doesn't quite work. And I'm really just thinking about where your hips are. If you're rounded like this, but if you could just do that, and sometimes actually just planting the foot. Anyway, I could talk forever about that, so let's not go.
So there you have it, my guys. That is a wrap for this video. Dan, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been great hanging out with you. Did you see what I did there? Did you see that? I'm quite proud of that one. Right. So guys, once again, a very, I guess, an unusual video for the type of videos that I normally film, but it ties right in with kind of everything that I cover. And in all seriousness, it is really, really important, especially the older that we get, the more grey hairs that we get, talking about myself, the more prone you are as well to a lot of these things. And these things typically don't develop overnight. It's like over a sustained period of time, and next minute, it's like a domino effect with back pain and shoulder pain.
And then it's harder to repair as well.
Much harder to repair. So if you can even do a little bit of prevention in the interim, all the better. But this is actually a topic we discussed off camera, and I realised this will make a fantastic video. So Dan, I really do appreciate you taking the time to share that. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, Dan is a full-time professional craftsman who also not only practices many disciplines, which encompass green woodworking and spoon carving, but he also teaches up and down the country and abroad as well. And like I said, during my visit down, I have filmed another 2 videos with Dan. So if you want to go check those videos, I highly recommend you do. You can check the links for those in the description, and I will also put a link to Dan's Instagram and also website. Highly recommend you give him a follow on Instagram to see the amazing work that he's doing. But last but not least, really sincerely hope this video has helped you out. Even if there's something you were talking about yourself, we were talking off camera as we thought about doing this video, that even if people take away one exercise and do one thing, would I be right in saying?
Absolutely. I think anything is going to help. One exercise, doing it just once a day even, I think is going to benefit, because I think then it can snowball. You're like, oh, actually, for the last few months, I've just been doing this one exercise. It's actually really easy. I'm going to add another one in. Yeah. Awesome. Once again, really do appreciate you taking the time to share all of this stuff. Guys, hope you enjoyed this video. And as always, I hope whatever you're doing, you have a blessed day, a blessed week ahead. For myself, Zed Outdoors, and Dan Lawrence, peace out. You right there?
My age is really showing now. It's a lower back,
Hanging out.
You feel the stretch here? The lower back. All right, guys, we're going to be hanging about here. See what I did there? Do you see what I did there? These guys don't appreciate my humour.
I'm off. Oh, actually, I never realised I bat hang.